Hi, Britt Davenport here, and welcome to another episode of On the Vise. Today we will be tying a Pat's rubber leg, which was a pattern created by Pat Bennett as a stonefly imitation. So you can tie them in various colors and sizes to imitate the naturals in your area. Today I'm going to be tying a more psychedelic one with some materials that I dearly love, but we do also like to use more natural materials, so kind of browns and yellows for golden stones, black for just regular stoneflies, that sort of thing. So let's get started. We're tying these on a Daiich 1720. I'm using a size 6. Get that mounted in the vise. Remember, if you're using a nor-vise, you want that hook shank coming straight off the top of your jaws. That allows it to spin on center. We fish these through quite a lot of riffles in pretty fast water, so I'm going to add some wraps of 015 lead wire. And I'm going to add quite a bit of that. And I'm going to take it back up, and we're going to build that thorax up a little bit with it as well. That'll just help the taper of the underbody and then help it get down a little bit further. Slide that back on the hook shank there. For thread, I'm just using Semperfli Nano in 6/0. I'm going to get my thread started. I'm going to build up a dam right behind that wire and right in front of it. And what that does, it just helps keep that wire from sliding around. We'll wrap over top of it a bit. Just make sure it's nice and secure. Take our thread to the rear, about where that barb would be. I've already pinched the barb down. For the legs on this one, we're going to be using SiliLegs in purple and Peacock. Just a really nice purple and kind of a greenish shimmery color. So I've taken one off of the hank. I'm going to fold that in half. So this is going to be both our tail and our antennae. So with that folded in half, the loop is going to be out over the eye of the hook. Take the open end and just put it up and underneath your thread. Do a few securing wraps. You can kind of wiggle it around if you want. Be careful not to pull too tight or you can break them off. They're just a rubbery type material. I like to take a wrap underneath. Kind of helps just cock them up a little bit. Lift that front loop out of the way. Take open spirals to the front. And then we're just going to tie those down in the front there. Don't tie them in right at the eye, because that's where we're going to tie off later. So make sure you leave a little bit of room in front of those, right behind the eye of the hook. Once you've got those secure, loosen that tension nut, and we'll just take some spirals down over that just to lash it down to the body. For the body, we're going to be using synthetic Peacock herl in 4mm black. So we'll tie that in here at the rear of the hook. If you have a hair clip, they come in handy for just pulling that out of the way. Advance your thread to about where the middle of that bulbous thorax is. Now for the legs, I've taken 2 pieces of that SiliLeg material off. I'm going to fold those in half and then just cut that loop. So now I've got 4 legs. We only need 3 of them, so set one aside for later on. And then rather than tying these in individually, we're just going to tie them in as one big clump using cross wraps. So just kind of figure 8 over top of it. And then what you can do, so we're going to have to wrap this chenille up to them, gather those up and just take 2 loose wraps to hold them up out of the way. Take that chenille, and we are not going to use the rotary aspect of the vise for this because we've got that thread holding those out of the way, so it won't really work. So just take some touching wraps, undo those 2 wraps so your legs are loose again. I like to tighten my tension nut and turn the vise towards me so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to pull that back set of legs to the rear and put chenille in front of it. And then just repeat that with each set of legs. This is by far the easiest way I've found to do this. It's much easier and saves your sanity rather than tying them in separately. And the look is about the same. Put that all the way to the front. Secure your tinsel down, your chenille body, sorry, not tinsel. It's made out of a lot of different tinsels. Trim the excess off, pull everything back. Make a nice little head underneath those front legs. Finish it off. I've of course left my wood finisher over on the other desk, so I'll just do it by hand. You could also do half hitches or whatever floats your boat as far as finishing it off. At this point, you could apply head cement if you wanted. I like to use hard as hole penetrating head cement. Pull that loop forward and just trim the antennae to the length you want. Same with the rear. And then you can also lock that vise in at 90 degrees and use gravity to kind of help you trim these bottom legs. And then again, just rotate it around. Do the same thing with the other side. Remember, if you pull on them and cut, they'll end up shorter than you anticipate. So just keep that in mind when you're trimming them. And so there you have it, the Pat's rubber legs. If you want, you can go in and trim some of this back end away just to give it a more tapered look. Our fish really don't care that much, so I generally do not spend that much time on a fly, and by building up that thorax a little bit, it gives you a bit of a taper anyways. So with that, thanks for joining us on another episode of On the Vise, brought to you by Hackles and Hurl Fly Fishing. If you find it valuable, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the bell to receive the notifications. You know the drill. We do love to hear feedback from you, so drop a comment down below, give us some suggestions on what you'd like to see. And then, as always, we do offer custom order flies, so let us know if you'd like to pick some up. And with that, we'll talk to you later.